So this month, welcome, talking about technology for seniors. I'm Jeff Turcott.
And Kelly Kurtz.
My wife, Kelly Kurtz. We went over that last month. And our business is Simply Well Seniors. And this is the Aging Well seminar series, sometimes also referred to as the Jeff and Kelly Show, but if officially the Aging Well seminar series. And something new, we have some sponsors. So we want to make you aware of our sponsors. Haywood Wakefield Commons, an assisted living residence right in downtown Gardner. They came on board to sponsor these seminars for the next 12 months. They're at 50 Pine Street. It is the old Haywood Wakefield manufacturing, furniture manufacturing.
Beautiful, beautiful community. If you're ever interested in taking a tour of it, it's amazing. It's really nice.
It's really nice. Christy Livingston is the Director of Marketing and Admissions, and we can certainly put you in touch with her if you'd like. And also sponsored by Next Level Studios. Keith, our videographer, working for Next Level Studios, taking your marketing to the next level by harnessing the power of storytelling, and that's what Next Level Studios has been doing for us, is telling this story through social media and with recording the seminars. And they're located in Fitchburg, Old Princeton Road in the mill building as well.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful building.
Yeah. Again, a little bit about us, our proven process. We are realtors, but we're different. And we have a proven process to help people navigate the journey to the next place they call home. And these past few months, we've been busy with a client that lived in his house for 30 plus years. We met with him in October, and the house is finally going to be sold and transfer next week. And it was a long journey, but in December, he packed up and went to Georgia, as the plan was. And actually, we had to go pick his car up at the Logan Express because he was in a hurry to get out.
He left us the garage door opener, the keys, and all the food in the fridge, and we took it from there and cleaned it out and did the whole process for him.
Did the whole process.
We just saw them last night. They came back into town, and they both said how thankful they were for our services because they were able to leave and go away and not worry about all of the stuff in the house and the whole process. So that's kind of what we really love to hear at the end, is that we've made somebody's life much easier during their transition in moving and downsizing. So we're happy to help them with their project.
That's right. And that very same day, we met with another client that is going to be moving in June, and we're going to be helping them with some move management services, getting into their new place, and then once they're settled, then continue the process of getting their house prepared for sale. But they are so far ahead of it. They're already packed. They're not moving till June, but they're great. They're great folks. We're so happy to partner with them. So today we're talking about technology, and we're going to kind of cover a lot of different areas and a lot of different topics today. And we have a great panel as well. But just a few statistics here. So behavior towards new technology. These are the age ranges here, and kind of when they seem to adopt these technologies. Most people are in the middle. They try some new technology after it's already been around, So most people aren't the first ones to go out and get the brand new phone or get the brand new technology or whatever it is. But if you look as folks age, age 80 plus, 38% of them are the ones that will try it last. It has to be around for quite a while for them to even try it.
Or their kids finally say, you've got to try this, or they give you a piece of technology or a phone and show you how to use it, and now, then you finally say, okay, I'll do it.
All right, because you told me to. So today's technology it's revolutionizing how older adults maintain their independence while staying connected to family and communities. I love when our son and grandson FaceTime us. It's the funnest thing. And I didn't think we'd ever, enjoy that, but
yeah, it's been great.
And that's really cool. He knows probably more about what the buttons on the phone do than
we do.
Than we do.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And also we've adopted a video digital picture frame.
Oh, yes, which is great to see. They'll send pictures of the grandkids or different events, and we'll be watching TV, and all of a sudden we'll notice, hey, there's new pictures on the frame. And so it's kind of nice to keep updated with what's going on with the family from wherever they are. So if any of you don't have one of those, they're really wonderful.
Yeah,
and they're easy to set up, that you can send pictures through an email address, and it's been a joy for us to have that.
Today and tomorrow's technology includes tech design not only for communication, because the phone is hardly even for communication anymore, but convenience, safety, and entertainment, but also for all aspects of health, personal wellness, and health, caregiving, and brain health as well. There are certain apps that will help keep your brain functioning and just stimulated.
And our panel today is going to be more of the health and wellness related and technology, but for safety and different things. So you'll learn a lot about a lot of different things today. It'll be a general overview, but we'll have time at the end for questions to ask our panelists. If there's something that you didn't hear about that you might be curious about, they'll have a wealth of knowledge to share with you. So
we just kind of briefly went over a few of the different areas of technology that's out there. There's an awful lot of smart home tech out there with a Nest thermostat, Ring doorbell, garage door openers, smart door locks. All of this can be controlled by an app. Actually, we bought an
automatic cat food dispenser. Because we were away and our cat's been losing weight, and so it goes off at 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, or an 11 at night, and it's like a dish that rotates and it beeps, and now he's like the Pavlov's dog. Charlie runs down, he hears the beep, and he's eating. Right. So it helped us not to have as much help coming to the house, because it really worked good. So
I got an app on my phone, and I can, if he's crying, I can feed him whatever.
And then he gets a text that says feeding was successful. So we know that at least it turned. We don't know if he ate it all, but
no,
we could, but we don't have the camera option. But it's pretty amazing what's out there.
Yeah. Then there's home safety technologies. There's Wi-Fi cameras, motion detected outdoor lighting, which is always helpful when you're coming home at night. There's also fall sensing detectors that folks can avail themselves of, that if they're living on their own, have a device, and actually the iPhone can do that as well.
And the Apple Watch.
Yeah. Automatic shut-off devices for the stoves. If you forgot to shut the stove off after you took your tea kettle off. And then there's even voice-controlled appliances. And I don't know if the washer and dryer that you're getting is going to be voice controlled, but wouldn't that be great?
Hopefully it'll fold your clothes too, eventually.
And we're going to talk a little bit about some mobility technology, mobile wheelchairs, seat lift recliners, then there's stair lifts. We come across a number of homes that have the stair lift, and they're easy enough to remove. They put them in, for that purpose, actually. So. And then caregiving technology, medication dispensers.
That will be like the cat food thing we just talked about. It will go, someone preloads it for you, and when it's time for your pills, it'll alert you. So if someone's living alone or needs help with their medications, that's a nice way to be able to do that. There's lots of different technology.
Yep. So we're going to introduce our panelists now. There's a number of slides after this that's included in your packet. Some information about a few apps and some other pieces of technology that you can look into at the end of your handout that we gathered together. So, like we said, we have a great panel, and they'll be here afterwards to answer any questions. But let's get to it. So first we have Carol Potter of LifePhone. Carol, come on up.
So, yes, come on up. Whoop. Oh, here she is. No one will forget Carol. Okay. Carol is an independent contractor and educator for LifePhone Emergency Response Systems. She helps to identify available, appropriate technology and provides personal emergency equipment. Her focus has been on elder population for most of her career, and during much of that time, she furthered the growth of this technology for the visiting nurses, now the VNA Care of Worcester. She's a New Jersey native and lives in Holden currently. She's a graduate of Endicott College in Beverly. And Carol covers the entire state of Massachusetts, so that's a big territory to cover. raising awareness of available resources to help elders retain their independence and save lives. And Carol says if anyone has a problem understanding her New Jersey accent, she's always willing to translate. So welcome, Carol. Yeah, so have a seat. Maybe right here would be great.
Okay.
So next we have Mike Zona of Apple Home Care and Rehab.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Mike is a local to Worcester County and has spent 22 years in the medical equipment industry with a passion for bringing customers and their families the best products and services in their time of need. He has proudly served in a variety of sales and marketing roles at Apple Home Care, medical equipment and supplies. Apple Home Care is a local business owned by a fellow native,
Joni.
Joni Maluzzi,
Joni, who's here.
who's right here,
In the back, yes.
respiratory therapist who started the business 35 years ago. Impressive. Mike excels at working one-on-one with case managers, social workers, doctors, physical and occupational therapists. That's how Kelly met Mike years ago as an occupational therapist. Administrators, executive directors, and well directors. He enjoys keeping up with the latest technologies of assisted daily living devices, as well as the larger power mobility products, as he believes it's essential to offer our seniors the tools they need to enjoy their golden years. So welcome, Mike.
Welcome, Mike, yes.
And last but not least, we have Jed.
Jed, who we are having the pleasure of meeting today. We've heard wonderful things about him. And
So Jed was referred to us by a friend, and he's a friend of the
Damons,
Damons, and helps seniors and other folks with their technology and setting up and kind of navigating the whole thing. So
we'll learn a little bit more about what he does and his services as we ask some of the questions. But welcome, Jed, so have a seat. Yeah.
okay.
All right, so I guess we'll start with Carol. You have the mic and you're right in there. So from the perspective of somebody selling technology to seniors, what are the biggest misconceptions or fears that most seniors have about using technology, do you think? What do you find?
I think that all of you would agree, and you've been as frustrated as most of us, that it's the complexity of the devices. They're just, when you receive the new device, if it's by mail, you're overwhelmed by what you see with all the buttons and the knobs and the colors, and it's hard to even just turn on up the volume. So it's really complex and complicated, and we kind of think it shouldn't be that. Well, we know it shouldn't be that way. We would hope it isn't that way, but with the company that I represent, we find that to be a huge obstacle. So we try very hard to ease the burden of that complication. And I think I might just say that the company I represent is I've fallen and I can't get up. Mm-hmm. You've heard that. That's the best way to describe it, and everybody knows what it is. So we just have a one-button push. It's that simple, and that's how we want to keep it. It provides all kinds of things, but it's a one-button push.
Easy, that's good.
Excellent. Great. If you want to pass the mic to Jed, I have a question for Jed. So what are some of the most common technical issues that you encounter when assisting some seniors in their homes? I mean, we just talked about everything's so complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me what you're seeing out there.
The thing that you see most often, I'm not even sure I'd call it a technical issue now that I think of it, but when something does go wrong and you ask somebody, what's the problem? And they say, I don't know, it just stopped working. Mm-hmm. It's not doing what I expect it to do. Mm-hmm. And most devices do give you some kind of feedback, flashing lights maybe, or cryptic messages that pop up. And those just don't tell you enough about what the problem is for you to be able to seek the correct solutions. So it's a disconnect between people's understanding of their technology and what the technology is actually doing.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of like a PC.
Yes.
Yeah. When you hit print, it doesn't print.
Yeah, and it comes up some cryptic error message. What was the error message from that movie? With PC load letter, what the heck does that mean?
Right.
If you don't understand what's gone wrong, it can be difficult to seek help or assistance in correcting it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And certainly with the updates.
Yep. And the updates are common. For security reasons in the modern world, everything needs to be updated constantly.
Right.
And every time something updates, that's an opportunity for something to go wrong. Every time you get in there and fiddle with the works, it's a chance for it to go awry. So,
Excellent. Good.
Okay. And I guess kind of the same question for you, Mike. So some of the common misconceptions about home care and rehab services, and how do you educate seniors about their options for things at home?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me, the most common question I have from people is that covered? What's covered, what's not covered with medical equipment, medical supplies? Sometimes a lot of people don't realize what's covered. And so people have a big problem, and it's a big stumbling block for a lot of people. My idea is to educate people on who does cover things. Bathroom products is a big one. Like, everybody should cover bathroom products. Medicares and your Blue Crosses should cover bathroom products. A lot of them don't. The most things that they'll cover is commodes. You know, you might not need a commode. You might need a safety bar in your bathroom or around your toilet or around your tub or getting in and out of your shower. A lot of these items aren't covered. What's great about what we do at Apple Home Care is there's a place to go to get that information, either over the phone, or we actually have a physical building in Sterling that'll show you all different types of adaptive equipment, all sorts of new technologies, things that can help somebody navigate their homes or their downsizing, and what they might need in that home, moving forward.
Excellent. Great. I'm going to go back to Jed since you have the mic. We'll kind of bounce it back and forth here. So, how do you approach, troubleshooting when folks, give you a call and say, Jed, I just need you to come over? do you try and troubleshoot it over the phone?
Well, I tell you, if you're not there in person, it presents a challenge because in order to know what you have to do to fix a problem, you have to understand what is causing the problem. And that can be a pretty complicated state of affairs, the way that things are interconnected nowadays.
Right.
So the most important thing is you have to talk in a common idiom. The words that you use, the person on the other end of the phone has to understand. And I have to understand the words that you're using. And you're going to put things into a different context than somebody who's younger or more familiar with the technology would. And we discussed this before the panel started, is that the technology that's easiest to understand is the technology that is closest to what you've worked with in the past, because you understand those words and those concepts.
I see.
And so if we can form a bridge to what you already understand, when we talk in terms of files and desktops and things like that, people understand what those are, what they do. But when you start talking about apps, what is an app? Ask somebody what an app is, and you'll get a different definition for every person you ask. So finding some common ground and understanding what you're seeing and how you can put that into words, and how I can translate my instructions to you of what you need to do into words, is the first and most important step.
I'm glad you described that, because many of the seniors, that are in their 70s now, probably were working in an industry that had a desktop computer that maybe wasn't even connected to the internet. It was local files, on a hard drive, running a program off a floppy disk.
Yeah. And when just coming back from vacation, when you say an app, we're thinking of an appetizer and drinks, not necessarily an app. So I know what you're saying. You get different things, or I say, I got that blue thing, that little dot that's in the left, and it's hard to explain or know the terms of what they are. If you were in a help desk somewhere that we were calling, you'd be asking us, look for a certain thing, and it is hard if you're not familiar with the terminology. So it
takes a lot of patience on both sides of the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
To understand that if it doesn't come through the first time and asking you to repeat it, that's just because communication is difficult in the first place. The language I'm speaking may well be French or German instead of technology speak.
Exactly.
You have just as much chance understanding it without that context. So
that's right. And even just some of the devices out there now, an iPad isn't necessarily a computer. An iPad is more of a very large iPhone running apps.
Yeah, but there's also a sense in which a phone and a tablet and a computer, they all do the same job. well, mostly, but they do it in different ways. And so the idiom is the language you use to talk about how they do it is different. You can check your mail on a computer or on a phone or on a tablet, but the way that you do it is different. And if you're not familiar, if you can't bridge one concept to the next, then you put a tablet in front of somebody. If they've never seen a tablet before, they're going to say, what the heck how do I check my mail is the question they'll ask.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yep, exactly. Good, excellent.
All right. Maybe back to Carol for the next one. So, Carol, what are some of the most innovative or user-friendly technologies specifically designed for seniors that you're most excited about that you've seen?
Well, one of the products that we have, and I think it's tremendously important and effective for seniors, and it actually was designed especially for seniors or the older population, and it's called a Safe Watch. And you may have heard of smartwatches that Apple and some of the big companies have that are extremely expensive, very complicated. Families generally give them to their loved ones and think they're doing them a huge favor. Give them one of these, and then when they leave, the loved one immediately proceeds to put it away in a drawer, and it's never to be seen again because they couldn't possibly deal with it in any way. So we saw a need for something like this, and it was designed, as I said, just exactly for seniors who will know how to use it and use it effectively. And it keeps not only keeping seniors independent, but very active, because it has some medical capability as well. And it includes step tracking, which these days, if you go to any medical office or person, the first thing they ask you is how many steps you've done each day during the week. And so step count is really important. And a lot of older people are trying to get the 10,000 steps in per day that they need to or were told to, and this is a good tracking mechanism. Secondly, it measures heart rate, which really is kind of important, and if you're exercising or doing some brisk walking, that's important to see, so that's valuable. The third option is it provides the local weather, and some people say, why would you need that? And that's because they don't relate to older people, because older people are very attuned to the weather, particularly in New England. If we're planning to do our errands in the afternoon and there is a storm coming, and we think, oh, we've got time, we don't have to go out in the morning, we can still get there in the afternoon. And suddenly, as often happens, the forecast has changed, and now it's going to start snowing at 11 o'clock in the morning and not at 3 o'clock as they had predicted. So to us, checking the weather is important for all kinds of reasons, but that being the biggest one. And what's also done with this, it's a watch, and it has icons, which are little pictures. I don't want to throw the terminology out that I say let's not use and we don't understand. But they're little cartoon-like graphics. And so the walking one has a stick figure of a person walking. The heart measure has a heart with what you always see in the hospitals, my beep, 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 that going up and down. And then the weather forecast with sunshine and that kind of thing. And to use it, it's simple. You just go from option to option with a movement of your finger. And if you want to know your step count, that comes up on the screen with the stick figure walking. If you tap on it, just one tap, you get more information about your steps. But if you're finished with it, you want to check your heart, you just flip your finger over it. So it's not a lot of difficulty in how do I do this? How do I go back? How do I do this? It's very simple. And we find that the older people really, really like it. And it's just great. It is also a button that goes inside the home as well as outside. A lot of the technology today has progressed, so These systems that only worked in your home now work inside your home as well as outside, wherever you go. If you go to a doctor's office, you go to your daughter's home in another town, you do your groceries. These systems work for you outside your home, wherever you're going. So you push your button to get help with this one. It's just like one of those buttons. But this provides the addition of little medical technology, but it's medical technology that you understand and can use. It's for you. Some of the other parts of technology, well, like those other sophisticated brands of Apple Watches, since they're not geared to older people, they don't really cover the kinds of things that we want them to, like the step count, like the heart, a measurement, or a weather forecast. They would never include the weather forecast. I'm sure they would say, why would we waste our space with that? Because they don't understand us and what that means to us. So I think that's where a lot of questions come in when people are looking to purchase or rent equipment. That's a big one. Is it for me? And our equipment is mostly customized toward the elderly population. That's important, we think.
Right.
Great. That's a great point about the weather. Certainly, because if you're planning, our big message always is plan. We're always encouraging people to plan. But if you're planning and you have to make changes to your plan, that's important. So I'll go back to Mike. You talked a little bit about cost and those kind of things, but how best do you assess folks their needs and that kind of thing? Is it an in-person consult? Is it over the phone? Is it?
So it's a little bit of both, Jeff. I mean, you've got people who call in and ask questions. Do you have seat lift reclining chairs? Do you have power mobility equipment? So those are things we probably encourage people to come into the store and get a chance to look at them, get to know the handheld of a seat lift reclining chair that has buttons on it. Is it a 2-button handheld on the reclining chair, or is it a 10-button on the reclining chair? So what we try to do is educate over the phone as well as educate in our facility. So it's very welcoming for people to come in, ask their questions, or if you have anything like that, it's great because I have Joni, the owner of the company, who runs the store. So it's great to be able to bounce things off of her at any time. So, and it's been great too for me as far as a personal level. I've had my dad since I had dad. He passed away when he was 93. So I had him around. So I learned a lot of the devices, a lot of the technologies I needed to learn. I still have my mother. She's 95. Sharp as a tack. But now she has a seat lift reclining chair, so you got to make sure she understands cognitively the buttons. And so it's kind of you're quizzing her all the time, making sure she understands. But what's great is you go through these things, you learn with her, you learn because you're able to go and ask questions I get somebody like Joni to ask questions off, and I'm able to put that out in front of people and say, hey, look, it's not as hard as you think. It's better to stay in the home. It's better to keep them there as long as you possibly can. And if there's ways to go about doing that, staying in your own home, then I want to know as many as I can and make sure people know that also.
In the years that you've been in this business, and Joni, you as well, I mean, what kind of changes have you seen? Do you see things changing fast these days?
In some part of our divisions, yes, like ours, the power mobility products, your power wheelchairs, your scooters. This right here is considered like a power wheelchair. It's literally a carbon fiber power wheelchair. Light, very light, which they never used to be. Used to be able, if you pulled up at a red light, and in front of you was a vehicle that had a ramp on the back of it, and you saw the scooter or the power wheelchair sitting out of the back of it. This can fit right in the car. Folds up, it fits right in the car. Technology has come a long way. The pendants that they use to drive have come a long way, the switches. So technology seems to really push themselves in. The seat lift reclining chairs that people sleep in or watch TV in all day that can also lay you back but lift you up. Those have come a long way, as well as the division of power equipment. That seems to be where the technology has driven.
Excellent. And your point of keeping people in the home, keeping people safe.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We want to keep them in their home as long as they can.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes a big difference to know. Most people don't even know what the options are, so that's a good resource to be able to stop into Apple Home Care and take a walk around their showroom and see what they have out there and maybe identify some of the things you're having trouble with. And Joni or Mike can tell you, oh, we have this product or this product, to at least get you thinking.
It's a great service. It's a great business locally as well. That's important. That's really
Right.
important.
It's not like ordering something, a chair or something. I don't know you could even get something like that online, but if you did and you get it to your house, it doesn't even fit in your doorway, at least if you're talking to professionals who are local that can offer this service, you're set up with the right equipment, the safe equipment that works for you. I guess we'll go back to you, Jed, with the next question. So what are some simple tricks and tips that you might be able to share with seniors that they could try to troubleshoot a few things on their own? Are there any common things that you see over and over again that are somewhat of a simple fix? We know always they say shut off the device and turn it back on. That's the one I know.
That was the first thing I was going to
Okay.
say. Stole the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that's the only one I know.
But see, it's good that it's common knowledge.
Yeah.
Most of these devices, they do a lot of checks and self-assessments when they start up or when they turn off. And so if you are having a trouble, specifically if two things are needing to communicate with each other and aren't, turning it off and then back on is, it's well known for a reason because it often will fix the problem. Secondary to that, though, listening to what the device is trying to tell you, because they do try to communicate with you, and usually it's in the form of small lights or, like we said, cryptic error messages. But those lights do have meanings that apply across devices. So, for example, we all know that a red light is probably not a good thing, and a green light is a good thing because that's that's something that we've had hammered into us since we were all very young. Lights that flash or blink usually indicate that the device is waiting for something or looking for something, and lights that are sporadic, that flicker more than they flash, means that the device is working on something or thinking, and you should probably wait for it to to stop blinking before you attempt to make any more changes. And again, like Carol was saying with the user interfaces, that often things are shaped the way we expect them to. So an exclamation point, when it pops up on your screen, will often say to you, this is a caution warning, something may have gone wrong, and obviously you never want to see a red X.
No.
So these are the sorts of things that will help you to understand what's going on, because like I said, you need to know what's going on before you can have a hope of fixing it.
Right. I wanted to touch a minute on, every day people get in their inbox requests for or on their iPhone. The new one is, oh, you went through the toll and now you need to pay this and those kind of things. What are those devices or what are those messages, depending on where they're coming from? When you click on that message and you click on something you shouldn't have clicked on, what is that message doing? What is it doing to your device or whatever it is?
Oh, to your device?
Yeah.
Well, because the easy answer is they're trying to scam you.
Sure.
Right.
Most of the time, what bad actors on the internet are looking to do is they just want your money.
Yeah.
They don't want to ruin your life, or they don't want to impersonate you for any other reason than to take your money away. So most of the time, what they're trying to do is not break into your computer, but they want to engineer you. They want to fool you or trick you into giving up some information that will allow them to do whatever it is that they like to do. Take money from your bank account, or maybe they'll convince you to try to buy a bunch of gift cards down at the local grocery store and send them through the mail. That's common. And a lot of times they want your information so that they can call up the bank and pretend to be you. So it is possible a lot of things like that will have a virus payload to get into your computer. The plan there is the same, though, because information on your computer can be used to take your money. And they'll call up your children or your grandchildren and say, oh, I need some money, I'm stuck, I need help. Sometimes I'm in a foreign country. And ultimately, the best thing that you can do is, if you're at all concerned that it might be a scam,
Assume it is.
assume that it is. Treat it with extreme caution and call somebody, a friend or a relative who knows what's going on, or someone like me, because we might be able to tell you. And even before that, common things to look for, if the language in the email has misspellings or bad grammar, Amazon's never going to send you an email with bad grammar. and they know how to spell Amazon. There's only one Z in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's a red flag because a lot of these attackers and phishers they're coming from countries where English is not the first language, or they're dashing off so many emails in rapid succession. They wrote a program to do it for them, I'm sure. They don't have time to check the details. So if it at all looks sketchy, suspicious, fly by night, it's probably not, you know, from the real Amazon, the real Apple, what have you. So,
You know, last year we did a seminar on safety and you know, scams and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And it just seems, it's amazing. It seems there's something different every day in getting away from. But your point is well taken. They're looking for your money.
yeah.
That's the end goal. And whether it's a virus that they're adding into your computer that's going to track your keystrokes and where you're going, ultimately to get to your bank account.
Your bank account or somebody who's got a credit card number.
Right.
And they'll often try to scare you. They call it scareware sometimes. The idea is that somebody who's panicking is not thinking. They're not thinking, I should ask somebody about this. They're thinking, this is urgent. So if it ever pops up and it says, you've got a virus, and if you don't deal with this in 5 minutes, well, that virus can take all the time that it wants. The virus doesn't care if that 5 minutes is to get you to comply with whatever they're asking without really thinking too much about it. So anytime you see a time constraint, chances are you're dealing with somebody who's not above board.
Right. The programs, the systems are now doing a better job at weeding out these things and keeping them out of your inbox and putting them into a junk.
Well, yeah, it's a war of attrition between the virus writers who want in and the companies like Microsoft and antivirus providers who want to keep them out.
Right.
And they're keeping ahead of the game far better than you or I ever could. And so it's okay to trust them a bit. If you open an email that you think is probably a scam, I wouldn't panic right away. The vast majority of them are just trying to trick you into running a program or giving up some information, things like that. Right. And by themselves, they're not going to just do anything just sitting there. It happens, it does, but it shouldn't scare you from opening an email that you're not sure about. But definitely don't click on any links within that email. Definitely don't respond with the information that they're asking for. And a lot of systems nowadays, especially systems from Apple and Microsoft, there'll be an unsubscribe button that's not part of the email, where they'll automate that process for you. But if it's a bad actor, if it's a scam email, when you hit unsubscribe, you're telling them, okay, there's somebody at the other end of this email address that does read these letters and will actually click on things in them. So I would ignore it unless it's really, you can tell your email program or your web interface, however you check your email, you can say block emails that come from this sender. They'll cold call you too on your phone. You ever pick up the phone and there's nobody there?
Yep.
Yeah, they just want to see if that's a real number where people will pick up the phone.
Right.
And the more times you pick it up when you don't know what the number is, the more people out there will know that yours is a live number. So, you know, I just screen my calls at this point.
Sure,
if I don't know
Yeah.
if it's important, they'll leave a message.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true. It's true. We do the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's sad that it has come to that.
Yeah.
But you know, if you recognize that's the world we're living in, that yes, if I want to reach you, I know you're not. If you don't recognize my number for the first time, I know I'm going to leave you a message.
Yeah.
And then you'll call me back, hopefully.
Yeah.
A lot of the phones, or at least I know on the Apple, it will say potential scam when the phone number's coming in. So that's helpful. But we will oftentimes we'll let it go to voicemail, because if we answered every call that came in, we would probably never leave the phone all day.
Oh, yeah.
But it is, there's a lot of bombarding of information coming into all of
And
us.
that's a whole seminar all by itself.
Yeah,
all
Yeah,
of that.
it's true.
And I'm sure we'll have you back.
yeah.
So back to Carol. Can you share a success story about someone who overcame some initial reluctance, to technology, and how that person's now?
Sure. I have loads of stories. Some of them actually would make your hair curl. I think of a woman who spent 3 days in the bathtub after she fell and couldn't get up. And I want to tell you, she recovered, which is quite miraculous given her health condition to begin with. But she did get a system after it, and it's quite amazing, some of the accidents that can happen. But the success stories of people who had reluctance to dealing with technologies, there are so many people out there who have that. They're interested in, they know they need a system where they can push a button and get help and want the assurance of that and have that confidence, but it just doesn't, they can't get past dealing with the complexity issues. So I have one, and I think it's what Kelly actually put her finger on in the very beginning when she was talking to us, that I had a wonderful little lady who was adorable, never had a computer. Her grandkids got her a computer, and she started to use it. She couldn't do a lot, but she was doing it. But what they were smart enough to teach her was they could text her, and she was starting to get a little lonely, so they could text her. She knew how to get their text messages. They could send photographs, which she absolutely loved. So that kind of motivated her to see that, well, I can do this, I want to do it, and I'm going to do it because I want that communication with you kids. And if this is the way you're going to communicate with me, I'm going to do it. So that was, I think, one of my best stories of a lady who got our equipment, but also was amazingly confident in what she could do with the computer. And it was the personal issue of being able to access family. So that's a major one, I think. And that happens a lot. That is a lot of the motivation. Seeing the grandkids and just, watching what you could do with them. You can video a soccer game. You can Zoom and talk to the family. You could do FaceTime. So maybe you miss a family holiday occasion, but you can be part of that dinner with your family. And so people don't talk about that a lot. You always hear of sort of the negatives, but the real positives are wonderful. And technology from that point of view has made such great strides. And where would we be without it? We'd be having older people have enormous isolation, which is a very unhealthy situation.
Right.
And in fact, my second story, I'll give you kind of a different story quickly. I was working with a gentleman who was about to retire, and he did retire, and he continued to do some consulting work. However, he was very important in his job and was go, high energy. And so as he retired and moved into consulting, it wasn't enough for him. And he was starting to feel the pains of what retirement can do in terms of isolation and not staying up to date and not having people call you for your advice all the time. And so he decided he couldn't stand that, and he wasn't going to deal with that. And so he started to he could work on a computer, but he didn't really know the sophistication of what he wanted would be able to help him. And he took some courses at some night school. He took courses that were offered, as much as he was not that elderly, he decided, I'll bite the bullet and go to my senior center where the high school kids have come in and teach you how to use your phone and some expertise on computers. He did that, and he talked to all his neighbors, and he just looked for anybody under 30 who he could grab and say, show me how I do this, tell me about this. Yeah. And it changed his life. I mean, it totally changed the way he looked at retirement and his lifestyle. And those, I think, are stories that you might not necessarily be familiar with, but they're real. And they do happen. And you need to empower yourself with technology. For a long time, I have trouble with technology. I was telling before we started, I'm trying to get a new clock radio up and running in my house. as I speak, it's blinking. When the time changed automatically, it's been blinking ever since. I have no idea what to do with it. So I have fear of it. I have frustration. And, I'm just waiting till I can get my hands on someone who's not 30 years old, who I can say, hey, can you come in here? I'll give you a cup of tea if you'll just kind of look at my clock radio.
They probably don't even know what a clock radio
Yeah, they
is.
don't. So, as much as technology fights us, I think it's important to give in and to embrace it. But I think, as I said earlier, you kind of need to ask questions on what is your level of expertise and ease of use when you're getting into a new device, so that you will be able to move in slowly and effectively and appropriately. And I think that's really important. Just learn that if you don't learn anything else, which is what I'm learning. I ask an awful lot of questions these days, and I know people, like probably Jed, would look at me like I have two heads, but I'm sorry, I didn't grow up with this, and you need to slow down and run that by me again. And you need to let me do it after you've explained it so that I get it. And I think if we just trudge along that way, I'm making progress, and I know you will, and you'll move into areas of technology that I think will excite you and surprise you that you can do it. I get so excited when I'm able to do something, when I have tried on my own and wasn't able to do it, and suddenly it's there. It's on my screen. I did it. And I think there's joy in that.
Yeah. I think you're like a lot of other folks. It's the same joy comes
it is.
when you get it. When you
Absolutely.
get it. Yeah, that's great. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back to Mike real quick about what do you see some of the challenges? I mean, challenges always bring opportunities. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing out there?
So the biggest challenges, Jeff, is literally the people in front of us, or the people that are sitting there going, I am getting worse, or I'm not steady on my feet anymore. I don't want to take that next step. And I understand that. And that's a huge point. And that's a huge point in somebody's life to say, hey, I have to reach out. I have to make the call. I have to stop in to see somebody because I'm not as strong as I used to be, or the injuries I've had at an earlier age, or I've fallen a few more times than I should have. Then maybe it's time I need to help, or I need help, and particularly to stay in your house, which is the last thing we want to do is to get you somewhere else. But if meaning for you to stay in the house is getting a power piece of equipment, or some type of seat lift reclining chair, or something technologically that can keep you independent and safe in your home, then we win. And that's how I look at it. So it really is, to me, people realizing, hey, there's an issue here. I need to move forward. That is a tough thing to convince anyone that is a possibility. And yeah,
right. No, and there's what Kelly and I find in the work that we've been doing. There's a process to this, and it takes kindness and compassion and patience.
Yeah, I'll give you one quick story about my mother. I love to death. She's 95. She thought she could drive until she's 104. So trying to take the keys from my mother, God love her, she kept knocking out the mailbox at her house. Like every other week, I was re-cementing her mailbox back into the ground. And I'm like, at some point, you've got to approach your loved one and say, I think it's time I take your keys. In that first week or two, you feel like, oh my God, she's going to resent me for the rest of my life.
Right.
I'm going to have to go to church every Sunday and repent for what I've done as a young Catholic, as a Catholic kid saying, oh my God, I got the guilt going. But eventually, it was beautiful. It was great. It got us closer in a way, because now you're picking her up to take her grocery shopping, or you're picking her up to go to church, or you're picking her up to go to the mall. So in a way, it kind of works itself out, I guess is what I'm saying. But the recognition of that is definitely the toughest part.
Right. Absolutely. So good.
Let's see. I guess back to Jed, what are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities for technology to improve the lives of seniors in the coming year? Do you have any thoughts on that? that you see coming down the pike that might be revolutionary to?
Yeah, right now the biggest change in the last 10 years in terms of technology has been it's moving away from monolithic devices like computers and things like that and into the devices that you would have used and owned anyway. Our microwave ovens and our coffee makers and our garage door openers and things like that are all becoming connected. And they call it the Internet of Things.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of opportunity there, especially for seniors and people who would have trouble doing things the old way as their life progresses. So, for example, garage door openers, you had it up there on your slide, and you know if you've ever driven away from home and thought, did I leave my garage door open?
Every time.
You know, the opportunity now is that you can pull out your phone and say, well, you know, it is open, and press a button and close it.
Right.
Or if you need that smell of coffee to get you up out of bed in the morning, you can set your coffee maker. You know, well, it's not set to start until 9 a.m., but it's 8:30 and I need some coffee. Let me push this button before I get out of bed. You know, that's a more minor thing than something that's enabling, like a motorized wheelchair or something like that. But you know, these are all. This is how technology is going to go, and you can, if you want, continue doing things just the way that you always did. But if you integrate some of these things into your life, into the way you live your life, then you might find that life becomes easier or more enjoyable. You talked about your photo frame, your digital photo
Yes.
frame,
Yeah.
where family members can send you photos and you know, from wherever you can keep up to date with what they're up to and have that be a part of your life and with pretty minimal effort on your part. You know, it helped you feel more connected and more like you were in the loop.
Right.
As opposed to the isolation that Carol was talking about. You know, so all these things around us being technologized is the big change that's happening right now. And you know, anybody can take part in that.
Sure.
You know, it doesn't have to be a need of yours. It could just be a want.
Excellent. Good point.
I know there's some, as my background in occupational therapy, even though I'm not currently working in that field, there's occupational therapists in general are very specialized in knowing about a lot of these technology devices and things for low vision and voice activation services for different things to work. So sometimes connecting with your, first with your primary care physician, maybe a referral to an occupational therapist to do a visit at home, or connecting with Mike and Joni to find out where to kind of get started with some of these things can really tailor what you might need specifically for you. Because sometimes, you know, in the past, this is years ago, but we used to just take the remote control for the TV. And if you know, there's a million buttons on a remote control. And so many times our patients in the past would have trouble trying to change the channel or turn up the volume or turn the TV on and off. And we would tape around all the extra buttons and just leave the ones that they needed to use. So that's a very simple example of how you can individualize something for somebody. But there's a lot of really creative ways to make things work for you. So this today is really an overview, but there's a lot of great things out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got a little bit of time left here, so we want to leave some time so folks can visit with you as well before we get. So let me ask Jed, what's the number one thing you're getting calls for? What's the biggest issue that people call you?
The biggest issue I get is somebody set this up for me, and now it's gone wrong, and I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the biggest problem there, because you know, technology failures happen to everybody.
Sure.
But the biggest problem in that sentence is somebody set this up for me and I don't know. So your loved ones, when you know, if somebody that you know or somebody that you're related to is setting up some piece of technology for you and promising you that it's going to revolutionize your life, but ask questions, really, because they should be explaining everything to you as they go, even if you don't understand a word they're saying, but you'll remember the words that they use. And you'll be able to say, oh, okay, I know this device has something to do with my email. You know, and that's a step, you know, a step in the right direction. So the more you can learn about these things, and I know you should hear me, whenever somebody's introducing a new piece of technology to me, I am a pain in the butt because I ask can it do this? Can it do that? What if I want to do this? But these are the sorts of questions that they give you a baseline understanding of what's going on. So you don't look at it later and feel mystified.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, what does this do? If you can even say the name of the device, you've got that foot in the door. Since we're telling funny stories,
Yes.
my great aunt, when we first got her a computer, and she must have been 80 years old at that point, and she called me up once and she said, "Well, it's the computer's just doing things randomly. It's completely without my." And so I'll try to move the mouse. She called it the moose. I'll try to move the mouse, and something will happen in a part of the screen that I'm not dealing with, and I don't know what's going on. And I said to her, "Well, let's go back to basics. Let's turn the computer off and back on. Can you press these buttons on the keyboard?" The keyboard. What's the keyboard? I said, it's that second device with all the buttons. And she said, "Oh, that thing, I never used that. I put it on the floor." She was hitting it. She was hitting it with her foot. And I recognized the problem was not with her. The problem was with me. I hadn't explained to her because I took it as granted. I knew it so well, I couldn't understand what it was like to not know it. And so I had never explained to her what that was for and what it was called. She had no idea.
Right.
She got along just fine with the moose.
That's great.
So from that point forward, I made sure that even if I was boring the person to tears, but if I was in their home and I was setting something up for them, I explained every step of the way because they may not remember exactly what I said or understand it, but they'll recognize those words later. And familiarity breeds confidence. When you're familiar with something, that's when you're confident to try things out.
Sure. Yep.
And if you're afraid to hit all those buttons on your phone because you're going to break something, there's no button you can hit on your phone that's going to break it for good. You may have to call in somebody to help you to fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the damage that you can do is limited. So be brave. And if you're not confident enough to be brave, then ask questions until you are.
Right. Good
Yeah,
advice.
that's great. And I think also maybe a return demonstration if someone's helping you to say, let me try that myself. I know for me, if I do it myself, I will remember it better than watching or being embarrassed and say, oh, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
It's
Teach a man
nice.
to fish.
Yes, absolutely.
right.
So that is all good advice.
Sorry. I just wanted to mention something because I think you might find it useful. And to me, it's a great resource that I just learned about, actually, condensed in one place. And that's, how many of you in here have a computer? Okay, then this is great. This is for you. There is the National Council on Aging website. And if you go on that, they have a wonderful list of resources on some basic functions of your devices or equipment, as well as connecting to others. Let me just read you a couple of them so you get a sense of it. But I think if you go on that, it's really helpful and I believe easy to understand. For example, Senior Planet is one, and it provides a technology helpline. And this, maybe you could have one of these. Maybe you do online. Okay, and it's from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and there's a phone number, and it hosts free online classes for older adults on topics including an introduction to social media, how to use Zoom. Do you know what Zoom is? You could meet with your families. And virtual social gatherings. That's just Senior Planet. That's one of them. Cyber Seniors is another. It provides free technology support and training for older adults. Oasis Everywhere. And you don't even need to write these down because if you just go on that website, I even have a list of what's on there, like 10 items, but they're all great. AARP has something on there. Learn AARP offers workshops, nationally and locally on Medicare and Social Security. I mean, it's not just directions. It's enhancing. It's educational, and it's enhancing what you can learn. So these are really valuable resources for you, and so that's what it is. National Council on Aging.
Excellent.
It's their website.
Great.
And it's really, I think you got a sampling of what it offers, and that's great.
That's a great resource. Excellent. Thanks for
Yeah.
bringing that up.
Mike, just one more thing for you. Is there anything that we didn't touch upon for you that you wanted to share? Anything additional that you've talked about a lot, but
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is, thanks. I think the biggest thing for us is we have a retail store that people can physically see these items. We deliver to the areas. We deliver to the Central Mass, Metro West areas. So there's a place to try things out, make you feel a little more comfortable. When you walk in the door, 95% of the time you're going to see the owner of the company. So that kind of helps too. Make it a little easy when Joni's there. Still a practicing respiratory therapist, so she still does her own things to help stay in the community. So. And I get to drag her to things like this, which is great for me.
that's great.
Well, I appreciate you both coming.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It's such a treat.
I know.
So it's great to be on a
Absolutely,
panel with everyone. I mean, it's great. You learn something just sitting here, listening to this. So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Oh, great.
And Jed, how would folks find you? I know they can talk to you individually after, but if someone wanted to have you come to their home or reach out to you, what's the process for that?
Well, since I'm local and I mostly go through word of mouth and things like that. I mean, I have business cards. I used to maintain a website, but the thing is people would go to the website and then they would call somebody else and ask for my number. So it's a complicating factor.
Yeah.
We weren't used to, when I started doing this,
Okay.
we weren't used to going onto websites to get people's information. We were used to trading business cards.
Right.
Sure.
I have virtual business cards that I can send to people's phones and things like that. But
Okay.
Okay.
All
They
right.
can talk to you. after.
this is one of
Yeah.
those things that I do the old-fashioned way.
That's great.
Okay. Excellent. Good.
Super.
All right. So, hey, let's give these people a big round of
Yeah,
applause.
thank you.
So, like I said, we have in your package some other information about neat technology and how to stay connected and those kind of things. And that's all for you in the package. But I wanted to mention the upcoming events. Next month, April 9th, we're going to be right back here in Leominster, Embracing Solo Aging, A Guide to Thriving Alone. We have a plan for a great panel as well, some folks that are going at this and thriving alone. And in May, we're going to have our estate planning and attorney, our CPA, and our friend financial planning.
Financial planner, yeah.
As well. So we're going to be talking about that in May. And there was one other thing I was going to say, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, we have gifts for you.
Yes, on the back table. Last month, we forgot to hand them out, so you take them when you leave, but we'll tell you that.
So make sure to join us again next month, and
Yes.
we'll be around to answer any questions.
Yeah, and
as well.
please use these guys as resources to connect with them and ask the questions.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.